Hello, everyone. Hello, hi, hey. I'm Ghosty, and welcome back to the underworld, the upside down, the mix, that combination, whatever I'm trying to do with that. You know what I'm getting at. We're continuing off on Chapter 5. Last video, if you didn't watch that, go check it out. But now we're checking out Chapter 5, or Episode 5, whatever you want to call it, the Nina Project. So, I'm going to go watch this, and of course, it has spoilers. So, spoiler alert for Chapter 5, for Stranger Things 4, and probably everything before this, too. So, I'm going to go watch it, and I'll get back to you. See you in a bit. And we're back. Good episode. It had everything pushing, and everything continued from last episode. I mean, that is what episodes are supposed to do, so no surprise. But nothing too big happened in this. Like this episode, it's not like... I mean, a lot of stuff does happen, but it just keeps the story and all our characters' journeys like pushing, and it just keeps it pushing, and it keeps continuing the story, and basically pretty much everything. Episode starts off with our Paul Blart police officer that was kicking ass like that episode die off the bat. They even bury his body, which I was like, Jesus. Like, I was like, oh man. I mean, they couldn't really do anything else, honestly. They have a dead like government official in their home, and they had to do something with it. And then, which is funny, because later on in the episode, well, he gives Mike a pen, and it's like a number, and it's like that meme with the frog dying. It's like, the number is, like some really important information is about to be like spread and come from like the dying person's mouth, like their final words, and then it's like, the thing is, and then they're just dead. Like, before they say it. It's like that Shrog, what? That Shrek frog meme? Yeah, the frog meme from Shrek. I love that meme so much. It's funny. But it actually happens. Or at least I thought that was going to happen. But no, it didn't. The pen was the answer, as we've seen in the episode. And it actually gives them the number, which they call the computer. Which I don't think in this episode we actually get to see their answer. They don't actually reach the computer or reach the laboratory that they're trying to call for 11. So, yeah. And then we do get a good amount of stuff with 11 in this. It turns out that they have her like on some kind of machine where she's in like a simulation sort of thing of her past and her past experiences. So, and they basically use old footage and 11's like memories combined to recreate these experiences with 11 to actually get her powers back. Which actually does work. But it's not that powerful. And 11 actually ends up accepting it. And this is, like, really depressing because, like, I already said before that 11, like, had tried her best to really live a normal life and try to be just a functional, like, human being and just, like I said, live a normal life like she's been wanting to for a while now. But now she really can't, and not only did she, like, get bullied and have to deal with these obstacles trying to live this normal day life, now she has everything come back to her and her past. Even her pop, or her papa, whatever his name is, Dr. Brenner, I think his name is, unless that's something else. The older guy, I don't know, that she hates so much. She actually has to come to accept him and accept like the situation that they're in. But it's for the better because we're going to see her kick ass probably at the end of the series. And of course that means with her powers again. And like last video I said, maybe we'll get lucky and even maybe see her have a new power or some sort of new ability. But we'll probably see her like normal abilities come back and it come back even stronger as well. So, that's something to look forward to. And also, I'm glad to see these GTA bunkers being used up, because this looks exactly like one of them things. Or like the facility kind of situation in GTA. That's what this like building, this lab is. That's like in the middle of nowhere. I think they said in Nevada, that's where it was. Like this like secret laboratory that 11's being held in. And when they shaved her head, or when she had a shaved head, I thought it was real for a second. But then we learned it's like a simulation. But I don't think her actual hair is like... Oh wait, no, actually I'm lying. They did shave her head, never mind. I forgot, because she actually did come out of that like sleep, out of that simulation, and we saw her, and I'm pretty sure she had a shaven head. Which sucks, I guess. Or it sucks for her, at least. She's finally growing her hair out, and she was living lavishly, kind of, not really, but for her head, she was. And, yeah, they had to go and mess it up. I do want to give props to Owens, though, because I actually do like him, and he, is well aware of 11 actually being a person other than being an experiment like this old other fuck is doing. This Benner dude. If that even is his name. It might be from a different series. I don't remember. Well, after that, then we see Hopper again, and Hopper is even in like a even worse state than he already is, because he escaped the gulag. Now he's back in the gulag, and it's way worse. And then the guard is there, and he roughs up the guard a little bit, and they talk, and then it goes. Actually, I'm not sure if it's this early on in the episode. Yeah, it's not. They go back to Yuri and they visit the plane again. But later in the episode with Hopper and the guard, Hopper talks about his life story, and he talks about the guard, or talks to the guard friend that's now arrested, or I think his name was Antonio. I think the guard that's also now arrested and captured in with Hopper. Hopper is talking about his life story. I don't know if you've seen it, then you know what I'm talking about. But Hopper's talking about his life story, and this is just sad, man. I didn't even think about any of that. Hopper's been through so much, and now he finally has his family back, or at least he thought he had a chance at seeing them again, and it got ripped right away from him because of Yuri. Goddamn it, Yuri. But, oh my god, Yuri got what he deserved in this episode, but we'll get to that later. But yeah, Hopper talks about the story, the whole, for a good, amount of time, and about his life story, and, what's happened to him, what happened to his old daughter, biological daughter, and then what happened with Joyce and 11 now, and now that he's here. And it's just sad. It's one of the things where you can't do anything other than just sit there and let him talk and hear him out. And just indulge yourself in the story and let him talk and let him speak his words. And it just, the whole way through, it's just an emotional wreck of Hopper's life story, everything that he's been through, like I said. And yeah, it's a pretty good scene. And by the end of this, I'm really hoping that Hopper gets that happiness or that closure that he needs, or at least seeing Joyce or whatever again. I want to see this man happy again. Finally, give him peace, please. Stranger Things. All right. Well, yeah, I think I touched on that a good bit, but yeah, I want to see my man happy. That's all. And then it comes back to Eddie, and then Dustin and them. Well, Dustin and Max and them are in a different house, but Eddie makes SpaghettiOs, which, so many things in this show, so many small things, or not small things, some things are big in the moment and the scene that they occur in, but then they come back later and make it an even bigger thing. This thing with Eddie, he makes SpaghettiOs, and then later on, when the blonde basketball player, which his name is Jason, the blonde leader of the basketball team, his name is Jason. Now I know. So when Jason is hunting for Eddie now, later in the episode, they notice the SpaghettiOs in the pot, and they could tell who's there. And then the card from last episode that 11 gave Mike, saying I went to become a superhero now, which I didn't say anything about that, I think, but that was also sad because it said from L, and that's what she was talking to Mike about. I'm not sure if it was on purpose or not, but normally 11 writes letters to Mike and says love L, as an ending conclusion to the letter, but this one was from L, and she was serious. So in this, they one of the police officers, or not the police officers, the government officials, the FBI kind of levels, is find this letter, and now they know, kind of have an idea of where she's at. All these little things connect in some way, and it does a pretty good job at doing everything by itself, and everything connects, which I love. And I think that was just something that was worth pointing out. But then we get back to Nancy and Dustin and them, like I said, with Max. Dustin takes all of the breakfast that the Wheelers made, that Mike's parents made, or Nancy's parents. Same thing. They're literally siblings. But Max is gone, or whatever. The whole episode, they're on Max watch, making sure she's fine and alright, because the last episode, she literally almost died. Literally the closest death experience you could have in the show, I think. So she was in deep shit. Thankfully, though, if you watch that, you know my reaction to that. I don't need to talk about that whatsoever. I stressed myself out enough with that. But thankfully, she's alright. And thankfully, Vecna really wasn't after her again in this episode. I'm not sure why. And again, I think, like I said before, Vecna is actually have thoughts, and it has its own consciousness, and it actually think and breathe like an actual human being. Like it uses its own consciousness, which is interesting. So it might have just straight up given up on trying to get Max, or maybe, like I said, I was right about Max to begin with, because I said like the victims of Vecna all had these like negative emotions and negative experiences, and then I was like, out of nowhere, I was just like throwing it out there. Max has been dealing with the same stuff. Maybe it'll go after Max, and I ended up actually being right. But in this, maybe because of Max getting rid of that negative emotions and actually finding the good and finding happiness in like the experiences that she was thinking of when Vecna was like over her, maybe that like uplifted her and uplifted her spirit, and now she's in good spirits and she's like happy, and she just had to deal with that negativity, and which means Vecna is like can't go after her. Maybe I'm still not sure how that works. I'm just assuming. So if Vecna does feed off of negative emotions and actually does target people like that, that could be the way of Max, like getting past it. That's how she stopped Vecna attacking her, and that's how she survived from the uplifting and like them happy thoughts that she was thinking of. That and the music, which I'm actually just thinking of now, because she was actually playing the music throughout the episode. So maybe that was actually the factor that was like occurring. The music was playing, actually like kept Vecna away from her. So it could be either or. I know the music thing was a big part of it, but I'm just thinking maybe the negativity, emotion, and like her being uplifted also stopped it. I know it stopped it when Vecna was going after her, but the way how Vecna like actually avoids going after Max this episode, maybe that's why. I think it is the music, but I'm just theorizing and throwing it out there in case. But yeah, basically back to this episode and like that topic. Max is fine, thankfully. I don't think she's gonna die. I was talking to a friend about this, about the other episodes and episode 4, and I think that since this is like, which also, by the way, I was wrong. Apparently, season 4 isn't the last season. I thought this was going to be in 2 parts, which it is, and I thought part 2 was going to be the conclusion to the entire series. Apparently, it's not. Apparently, they're going to have 5 seasons, which we'll go over whenever that releases. That could be years from now. I don't know. But I was saying, I think the show is going to end, like again, whenever that is. Now that I know it's 5 seasons, it's not going to happen in this season, I don't think, unless it's a cliffhanger. But I think that it probably could end up with a character death. But now that they've had this whole ordeal with Vecna and Max, I don't think Max is going to die ever in the series. If anything, I think 11 is, but I might make a video and talk more of that in the finale. Probably part 2 or the finale of this, I'm not sure. But we got to see the episodes when they come out. And also, part 2 of season 4 is extremely long. They're both like movie lengths. So I might get a friend to talk about it with. Maybe if someone else is like up to do it with me. Other than that, if not, it's not a big deal. So far, I've only done that with Little Discouraged for Doctor Strange. But maybe I can, since it's going to be a longer thing. Or maybe I'll just talk with it to myself, like I am doing now. And talking it by myself with you guys. So we'll see when I watch it. That's in July though, so we got a good wait. But yeah, basically my point is that when this series does come to a conclusion and it actually ends, like for good, I think they're going to kill off a character. But now that they've had this whole ordeal with Max and this whole conflict with Max, I don't think they're going to kill her off. I think it's safe to say that Max is fine for the rest of the series, thankfully. Whew. Not sure who else they're willing to bring to the brink of death like this, but I guess we'll see. And also, while I'm just coming through the episode, looking back at everything, like making sure I'm talking about what I want to talk about, this thing with 11 is trippy. Every door leads to the same place, but again, it's a simulation, so it makes sense. At first, this was like really confusing, but I just wanted to say, this blonde dude annoys the shit out of me. Saying the same thing over and over again. And that's all. That's the whole point. And then we see them burying the body, like in the chronological order of the episode. Now we're seeing them bury the body of the, whatever they called him, the old agent dude man, or whatever they called him. I don't know. But Stoner Dude is freaking the fuck out, because, I mean, why wouldn't he be? They just buried a dead body, because they have to, cover their tracks. I mean, it's not their fault, but still, they can't carry around that body. But quick thinking to Mike, he really did, find a way about the pen. Actually, it wasn't really his thing. I mean, he did think about it, and he did get to the bottom of it, the pen, and why the agent dude man, Paul Blart guy, gave him the pen in the first place. But it was really the Stoner Dude why they thought of it in the first place. because he tries to write a headstone for the Asian dude, and tried writing like, "Here lies the Asian dude man" or whatever he was trying to write, and basically write a gravestone for him, since like they buried him, which is pretty funny. But might get to the bottom of it, and yeah, it was just a cool part I wanted to talk about. Yeah, quick thinking of Mike for that, even though it was basically the stoner dude's fault. Maybe stoner dude might be a genius, an accidental genius. He really is. All right, what's next? Oh yeah, and then in the episode, like events wise, chronologically, that's when we see Hopper come back and like actually talk about that story I already talked about. It, but it really is just sad, and it's a really like emotional scene. And Hopper, this man, just when he sobs, it's heart wrenching. It really is. I think it is, at least. Hopper, when when we thought he died in the last season, I cried like a bottled up baby. I was not tucked in and was waiting for a diaper change. Like, it was bad. I really did. If someone dies in this season, I don't know what I'm going to do. I thought Max was going to, but Jesus. And also, that song that plays with Max in last episode, like when like they get her out of the trans from Vecna, and the same songs that she plays this episode to stay away from Vecna, it has been stuck in my head since I watched the episode. Non-stop. That's like the only song I can think of, which is weird. It only happens with TV shows. It just keeps replaying over and over in my head. And do I have a problem with it? Nope, not really. I just had to say that. That's all. But then afterwards, we learned that the FBI, or like the secret organization, it would be the FBI, but like it's like government versus government in this show so far. So I'm not sure where each thing aligns. I know one part is for 11 and one part is against 11. So it's kind of undistinguishable. Is that a word? Undistinguishable? I don't know. I might be butchering it. But like sometimes I can't really tell which, like, who and where aligns, kind of thing, when it comes to the government people. Besides, that scene in the house last episode when the whole army pulled up and went against Paul Blart, and he had to shake them all down with it, only pistol. It was badass, but he did it. But anyways, yeah. But the FBI, or that like secret organization, learns that there's a crack in Eddie Munson's trailer on the roof that we talked about before, and now that they're aware of it, so they're actually like aware of this crack in like this place. So now they know that there's like a supernatural kind of entity and like activity in this area, and it's because of that. But then after we actually see Chrissy's funeral, with everyone there, we have the baseball players, which again I know his name now. The blonde one is named Jason. Obviously he's still pissed. But then we have, I think they said Andy and Patrick. One of the players, actually I said this last episode, or last video about the last episode, I mentioned this, is that he got affected by Vecna. Vecna actually targeted one of the basketball players, and it wasn't Jason, it was like his friend. He has like two friends that's always with him, and one of them got affected by Vecna. And well, I knew it was coming. I didn't know when it was going to take place, or when this effect was going to actually like wear off, or actually take event, or actually like advance on him. And it finally did it in this episode. I know I was waiting for it. Entire episode, whenever we see this certain character, this one dude, I think his name's Andy or Patrick, whatever it is. I think it's Patrick. I'm not sure. But whenever we see him, he's like here and there, and we hear the grandfather clock go off. We see him like looking to the left and right, and he kind of gets lost here and there because of it's Vecna and Vecna's doing. And then later in the episode, which I said in last episode or last video, same thing. You know what I'm talking about. Last video, I mentioned that I think it was going to occur with them looking for Eddie, and some big shit was going to go down, and this effect that Vecna put on this baseball player was actually going to advance, and it was going to do what Vecna does and kill the kid, or do something to him. I didn't know what it was going to do, because we have never seen that thing with Vecna before until this character, where it's like a POV of Vecna, and they're like passing different people in the real world, while Vecna is like looking through it, through the upside down kind of thing. But now we know why, and now we know what it does. That's just like normal ability. But I was waiting for it, and I said that there was some crazy shit going on, and then Vecna was going to come in and interrupt it, and tell them what was going to happen. And that's exactly what happened in this episode. I was right. Surprisingly. I actually keep kind of assuming things by accident, or not really by accident, but I keep actually getting things right and predicting things before they actually happen. So that's pretty nice. And some things, it's kind of already like I'm aware of the show and I know how it works, and I already know the blueprints, so I can kind of base it off of that and how certain things go down. Plus, some things are already obvious, like with Yuri and Hopper. Like I knew something was gonna go wrong. I could just tell. I had a feeling something was gonna go wrong. Didn't know exactly what it was. I couldn't put my finger on whatever it was. But then we find out it did go wrong. Now we know what it is, and it was Yuri and his greedy ass. But like that. For some reason, I can predict what happens, and I can actually tell what happens. Maybe I have powers like 11. Ooh, maybe. I don't know. But as I was saying, that happens later on, which is going to be crazy in the next episode, because the kid literally gets like hit by Vecna while he's in the water. And yeah, we're doing a little jump here, because I want to talk about this. But later on in the episode, when we actually see Vecna strike, we see this kid fly up out of the water because they're chasing. Wait, actually, yeah. After that SpaghettiO thing takes place with Jason and the basketball players noticing the SpaghettiOs from earlier on in the episode, they could tell that Eddie Munson is in the building or like nearby. So they go to the boathouse, and Eddie's like, he took off. He's already gone, and he's already like on a boat. He's already gone. He's zooming, and he's on a little kayak trying to get away. They're fast as shit though, because they like take their shirts off, they undress, whatever, hop in the water, and they get to him in, like, in an instant. Or at least in the scenes it feels like that, because it transports over to other scenes and back to them, obviously, to keep it pushing and have everything progress. So it makes sense. They do that, but still, like it's in an instant they make up to him and they catch up to him. I mean, so Eddie's like shitting his pants, and obviously these people are gonna fuck him up. Like Jason, the blonde dude, is like fully prepared to actually mess him up. And then another guy, Patrick, that has Vecna's curse on him, is like distracted or whatever. And obviously we know it's Vecna, but Jason and Eddie are unaware of it until he gets pulled underwater, which is terrifying. And then he flies up in the air. And now we have Eddie seeing this for the second time in person, actually seeing it happen. And then Jason is probably confused as fuck, because he has no idea what's going on. And his friend is getting mutilated and actually destroyed in front of his eyes. So he's probably terrified. And I don't know how this is going to like end up and its aftermath in the next episode. Because now, not only does Jason deal with Chrissy's like funeral in this, but now he's just seeing his friend die in front of his eyes. I think they're probably going to go down the road of him blaming it on Eddie and saying, you know, Eddie's a freak, Eddie's this and that. Eddie is probably like some supernatural shit. And this is obviously what's going to make him believe in the paranormal stuff and supernatural stuff, because in the episode he says he doesn't believe in it, and this is obviously going to push him to believe in exactly that. But I think he's going to somehow, some way blame Eddie. But maybe if we take a look at the bright side, maybe possibly small chance that he knows it's not Eddie, because obviously what he just saw, and he doesn't blame it on Eddie, and they actually get along, and Eddie can actually say he didn't kill Chrissy, and then Jason's the good guy. You know what I mean? So we'll see how it takes place and how it ends up. But yeah, R.I.P. Patrick for real. Patrick is done for. His body landed in the water, and again, we had to see how Jason and Eddie react to it next episode. But that's for another video. And now, let's get into the things that we haven't talked about yet. There's two things that's left, basically, that I want to talk about. And one thing, I'm saving one thing for last, because it's like the big thing. So, I mean, besides, you know, the death of Patrick and that whole part was the end of it. But the main story thing, I think I'm saving it for last. So for this topic right now, Joyce and Murray versus Yuri. And I didn't think getting into this video I would be saying, like when I made it and before I watched the episode, I wouldn't think I would bring that up by saying Joyce and Murray versus Yuri. Which is, that is what it literally is. The whole time they're like, we learn what happened to them, and they're like very aware of them getting kidnapped, and like they're aware that Yuri's going to sell them to the KGB or whatever. So like they can't do anything but like deal with it. Basically, they can't do anything but accept it. But they could try getting out and all that. But if you've seen it, you saw exactly what I saw, and you saw Murray kick some ass. Joyce tries grabbing a gun. Murray has his own like revelation of being like, I played karate and got a black belt when I was like a preteen, but I beat someone as a teenager, and Yuri isn't trained whatsoever. So that means I'm superior, and I have a chance of taking him down, and he actually does it. Well, all while the plane is going out of control, and it's going up, down, all around, and it crashes a few amount of times, but then they save it in the end, and it's a pretty gnarly crash. But obviously they're probably going to be fine. Unless someone died, which I doubt they would do that. That would be insane. So that's like very unlikely, but we'll see. I don't even think I need to say it's unlikely. I'm pretty sure for definite that won't happen. But, I don't know. You never know with this. But yeah, it's a pretty nasty crash. And I love that scene in its entirety. From Murray and Yuri going at it. Joyce trying to like stop them and have Yuri turn the plane around. But then Yuri using the plane controls to like move it around and pushing the plane upwards, and everyone falls backwards, and the whole scene is really enjoyable, and I just love that. There's not much like comedy like right in your face. Some characters are comedic relief, and then other characters like say things that are funny, or something happens that's funny, but it's like not actually like direct comedy, I don't think, unless it's like character to character making a joke or something like that. But I think the comedy in this is pretty well too. Murray is doing a lot for me when it comes to that. Not saying nothing else is making me laugh, or I'm enjoying the whole show overall. Everything, I'm enjoying it. I'm just saying I do like Murray, and the thing he does and says is just so enjoyable. I'm all for every second that he has. All of his screen time, please. I actually followed the actor on TikTok too. I saw him last night, which was pretty nice. So now let's get into our final point, Vecna and our original gang. So the entire time, our like gang of characters, our favorite few characters, our crew, is first of all, back to the beginning of the episode when they're all looking for Max because he's gone. Like I said, she was drawing in the kitchen. She wasn't laying down with everyone. That's why she was gone or whatever. And she was actually drawing in the kitchen. And instead of explaining what she saw in her mind when she was going off against Vecna, she couldn't really explain it, and it was really like actually like unexplainable to her friends. So she decided to get some crayons from Nancy's sister or whatever, like the young Wheeler child. Young Wheeler child. That was weird wording. But when she gets them from her, she uses the crayons and draws what she saw to try to envision it. And it turns out that all the architecture in that like upside down world, or Vecna's world, Vecna's domain kind of thing, will all actually piece together. And thanks to Nancy, she was the one that realized that, I'm pretty sure. But all of the architecture and the buildings and debris all piles up, and it's all like connected. So Nancy uses the drawings that Max drew and connects the pieces like a puzzle, which is pretty clever, I think. And it's kind of done a lot. Like acts like something happened and it's coincidental, and then like, oh my god, wait, we can actually connect these pieces to actually find the key to what we need. But it happens in this, and I think it was done well because of what happened with Max, and then they find out in this thanks to her drawings. I think it was done well. But they do that, and it turns out to be Victor Creel's house. So now we're back at Victor Creel's house in the real world, and it's actually there. But again, Vecna is not in the Creel house, or the real Creel house. He is in, or it, whatever it is. Vecna is in Victor Creel's house, but in the upside down. So it is in Creel's house, but it's in his house that's in the upside down, not in the real world, the regular our world. They go to the Victor Creel's house in our real world that we're in, and they find out that Vecna's there. They use the lights, which I said before too, that I hope we get some references and nods to the original season, which they kind of do in this. I'm still waiting to see Steve with a bat. It hasn't shown up yet, but they use the flashlights, like Christmas lights, to actually give a sign of supernatural like presence and Vecna, and they actually do it right. And they're in this house most of the episode. Of course, that song "Running Up the Hill" is playing from Max's headphones. Of course, I love it. We don't get any significance with the grandfather clock so far, but I'm still interested in about that. It's in the house. These like clocks are in the house, so it's just there. But there's no actual big significance about it and why it's so important and why it's like Vecna's like calling card. But I guess hopefully it explains it. But we do see where Vecna is, and they end up in the attic, exactly where Vecna is, but in the upside down in this house. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. The whole scene, and then like in the scene where Vecna is using its power to take out Patrick later in the episode, like the basketball player, they're in the attic at the same time while Vecna is in the upside down attic, while Vecna is attacking the basketball player. So all this is happening at once. So, and it looks like Vecna is actually using like its power as like and is struggling kind of. Like it's frustrated and it's actually like kind of struggling to use the power. It seems like that at least. Which also brings up what I said before about actually functioning like a full-on human being with like a consciousness. So that is kind of supported with this. I'm not sure. Everything so far supports that, honestly. But we see Vecna struggling kind of, and then it seems like the power is used pretty heavily because all their flashlights like shatter. All their flashlights are broken and they go out instantly. And even the light bulb in the attic goes out because of this. So it's interesting. And then afterwards, everything goes on with Patrick and Eddie and Eleven and them and everyone else. So, and then the episode ends. So, I think I said everything I wanted to. And yeah, the episode does end with 11. And of course, I'm going to watch the next one right after this video. So, I'm going to go do that, and you can go subscribe if you haven't, like, comment, etc., whatever you want to do. And also, before I forget, actually, while they were in the house, they were also making that connection between Steve and Nancy more, like, again, and I was like, yes, again, I want to see my man Steve win. And obviously, I think they're pointing in that direction, so why not root for it? But anyways, so again, if you didn't hear me right, subscribe, like, comment, etc., help me out a bit, please. I appreciate you watching this and getting as far as you did. I appreciate you greatly. And again, sub, like, comment, whatever it is you want to do. Do it before you hear the grandfather clock. You might, I don't know. You might not. I'm not sure. But I have been right about a few things. So maybe I'm helping you out. I'm not sure. But you can help me out by doing so. So I'll stop annoying you with it. If you want to do it, go ahead. You don't have to. But again, thank you for watching this video. I appreciate it greatly. And be on the lookout for more content. This has been Ghosty, and I bid you all farewell.